Uh, so for technical reasons, to everybody that is listening, because this is going to be going on the podcast, we have my mom in the room and my sister who's going to be playing, and both of them are eating at the moment, so you might hear a lot of because we all tend to choke on our food. I choked on a pretzel a couple minutes ago. All right. Sydney, you come home from the store one day and you walk inside. Mom's not home. I'm not home. Nobody is home, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You walk inside and you go to your room to drop some stuff off in your room, and all of a sudden things just start happening. Your door slams shut and smoke starts to emanate from underneath, coming from both your window, your door, the vents, essentially engulfing you in a fog of smoke.
Yeah.
You begin whooshing your hands around and trying to disperse it. You find that you are in a stone room full of white walls, blue tapestries all around, and a golden lion silhouette with a roar going through the tapestry.
Mm-hmm.
You look around and you see no one, but you see that there is now a scorched place on the ground where you are standing. But you look down and see that the ground is much bigger than what you are used to. You look around and the walls are bigger than what you are used to. And you were looking around the room and you see a mirror. Do you approach the mirror?
Yes.
You approach the mirror and you see that you are no longer 4'11". You are now about 5 inches tall. Your hair is longer and it looks thicker. You are in glowing white clothes that appear to be shifting with every movement, not like a flowy dress, but like wind. And you notice on your back you have glowing wings.
Ah! What's wrong with me? I really want to throw up. What's going on?
No one hears you. Nothing happens. Keep screaming.
Ah! What do I do? I'm tinier than I was.
A guard hears you crying and saying that you are somehow smaller than you are, and you just hear the door slam open as a guard runs in. You see a guard paladin looking nightman in pure white armor and a blue cloths wrapped around, one around his arm and back like a cape, and the other around his lower half like a loincloth, but fancier. And through the mask you can see piercing bright green eyes. And he looks at you and goes, "What are you doing here, young fairy? Why have you entered our castle, especially in a room forbidden to outsiders?"
If I knew that, I wouldn't be here.
He looks at you and goes, "I want you to tell me everything that just happened, how you appeared in this room, and why you're freaking out and crying
Well, because I was at my home, and I was a human, and I was, well, looking at me now, I was taller, and then something happened, and now I'm here, and I don't know where here is, and that's why I'm freaking out.
So you're telling me that you were human?
Sure, yes.
I don't believe you. No fairy has ever been a human.
That sucks. They should try it sometime.
He draws his sword and slowly starts to approach you.
Back, evil knight. Back. I'll throw fairy dust on you.
He looks at you, disgruntled, with confusion on his mask. And he's looking at you and says, "What in the world is fairy dust?" Is that new drug from the brothel I've been hearing about?
You don't want to know, so I suggest you back it up, Buster.
I do, though. We've been trying to use some medical science to figure out some things.
What?
You just see a water ball start forming in his hand.
I was thirsty, thank you.
You just see it get bigger and bigger.
Not that thirsty.
The man standing before you is about 6'5", and the water in his hand is now about 5 foot.
That'd be heavy.
And he is aiming it directly at you.
If you could just move your hand over just a tad bit, it's getting a little too close for my liking.
He aims it down at your head. He's like, "I'm gonna ask you one more time. How did you enter the summoning chamber?"
What is wrong with your ears? I told you. Ah!
Okay. He lowers down the water ball and it
Good
starts
boy.
to slowly. He starts to lower the water ball, and then you say "good boy," and he raises it back up a little bit, and then he's like, "You know what? Maybe the Lord will in fact call me a good boy after this," and lowers it completely, dissolving the water.
I was
So
thirsty. You didn't have to get rid of all of it.
he gets a pen-shaped water spigot and just flings it at you.
Thank you. Refreshing.
It hits your face and knocks you into the mirror.
Rude.
He cracks his neck and looks at you and says, "All right." Wanders over, picks you up by like the waist, and just starts walking you out of the summoning chamber.
Watch your hands. Who knows what you are touching?
He looks down at you and says, "Well, I was beating Momo today. I did teach him more combat experience. For a goblin, even he's stupid. But, you know what?" He taps you on your back, and for some reason it sounds a lot like some plastic wood from your dimension. It was like, "You know what? You're right." And he walks you over to Momo and says, "Momo, come here." And you just see a little goblin about like yay big run up and goes, "Oh, yes, how are Momo is happy to be here. And you see that he has a fresh cut through his eye. He looks like he's about like 10 years old.
So, why are you guys playing dress up for?
Both Momo and the knight look at each other, look at you, look at each other, look at their clothes, look at each other, look at you, look at the castle around them, look back at each other, then look at you and say, "Are these dresses where you're from?"
No, they're more like costumes, but whatever floats your boat.
Ah, what are costumes?
Well, back in my world, we have a thing called Halloween, where people dress up in clothes like that and go house to house and ask for candy. And, you know, if they don't get it,
They look at you and say, "We've never celebrated a holiday, such as you were saying, called Halloween, but we have celebrated Hoggenflast."
a holiday about a pig.
No, Hoggenflast is where we go and kill the, where we go and kill the wares that are particularly turned into pigs.
I don't know what a were is, but it don't sound good.
Oh dear Lord. You're what we summoned, aren't you?
I really hope not, for your sake.
He squeezes you tighter and starts charging towards the king's chambers. "My lord! My lord!"
Will you let me go?
Squeezes a little bit tighter.
I'm going to die.
You just see him go from running, like joggingly, to squeezing you tighter and full force sprinting. When he first started, he broke the sound barrier. As he runs, you see that he slips on a puddle of water that's coming off of him and goes like, "Oh my lord!"
And that is what we call karma.
And
I said let
you
go.
just see as he is sliding and he bashes into the king's chamber's door as the king is about to open the door, and you just watch as you're in his hand being squeezed and you're being held up as he's sliding, and all of a sudden his feet hit the king. The king does a full 360 above him as he's been hit, and you and the king lock eyes as each other, like that scene from The Matrix when Neo jumps over Mr. Smith or whatever his name is, and you guys go, "Oh." And then all of a sudden the king just hits the top of the door frame wall and then hits the ground and is now covered in water. And you are now like, you and the knight have slid under his bed from the momentum and the direction. You have slid underneath the king's bed, and you are looking at him because he has you like this. And the knight's like, "I can't move. I can't move, my lord. My lord, I can't move." And the king's like, lying on his back, unable to move. He's clearly got a concussion. His back is in a lot of terrible pain. You could tell that the man looks like he is a 70-year-old man. And the knight, with all his force, just punches you through the bed. You're completely fine, you think. And he goes like, "My lord, I found you summoned." The king has not responded. The king is in too much pain. He just keeps... You just see Momo, because you're lifted through the bed, and he's got you twisted where you can see like where the king is, and the door frame. You just see a bunch of like the elders in like robes and like two more knights walking around, and all of them are peering with their heads like slowly tilting into the door frame, looking at what just happened, and looking at you sticking through the bed frame, and you just see Momo as fast as he can, which is not very fast. He's like, how many times? And he finally reaches the room, and you just see him going, and then passes out on top of the king.
Well, this was fun, but I'd like to go now. So if you guys could redo whatever it was that you did that made me come here, because, you know, I got a show on that I need to watch, and dinner, and, you know, sleep, because that's important.
You see Momo's ears perk up when you say dinner. He's like, oh, Momo, her dinner. And the craziest laugh you've ever heard, to the point where all the knights and the king all just like look at him like, why did you ever get this passionate about your training? Momo just looks at the king and goes, the training isn't dinner, my lord. You watch as the king somehow like grabs Momo by like the back of his metal armor and goes like, all right, and flings him off. Momo somehow lands in what looks like a giant fish tank. And the king goes like, all right, someone help me up. And you just see like two of the men in robes come up and help him up and go like, all right. And he just goes and like cracks his back, and you hear the most intense cracking you've ever heard in your life. Like, it sounds like his entire spine, ribs, arms, neck, skull, jaw, legs, everything just cracks on him. And he was like, all right. Now, the last thing I heard before I slightly passed out was something about my summoning. And he looks at you. Oh, you have to be kidding me. I summoned a fairy.
Look, buddy, I ain't happy to be here either, alright?
And he grabs his face and just starts palming it like, oh, Lord. And then starts messing with the bridge of his nose, squeezing it and going like, oh. You know what? I can work with this. And he looks at you and he bends down to your level and he goes like, all right, little one. What is your name?
Wouldn't you like to know that?
That is why I am asking.
Well, I don't feel like giving it.
So, Flood, please squeeze her a little bit more. Sir Flood squeezes you ever so slightly more, to the point where like you felt like your elbow pop while you're inside. You're like, ah. And he looks at you and he goes, all right, now, one more time. Dear little fairy, what is your name?
If I give you that, will you please put me down? You're wrinkling my dress. And I think you're pinching one of my wings. It don't feel that great.
Yes, I shall have you be put down.
My name is Sydney, and you can call me Sid, maybe.
Okay, Sid maybe.
No.
Welcome to my kingdom of Nochia.
Nachos?
Oh,
King, look.
the
I got brought here when I was about to eat. Now, if we could find something to eat and talk business, that'd be great.
You know, that is a fair trade. Alright. Sir Flood, let her go, please. And Sir Flood lets you go. It's like, alright, my lord. Because he's still stuck under and the mask getting pressed into his face more. He's like, alright, my lord. And you just see the bed frame with you still on it get flung up. It whacks the king in the face and knocks him down. And since you're on top of the bed, you get flung into the wall. You get flattened like a pancake against the wall. The king looks like he just got uppercutted by a bed. His chin has a dent in it now. And Sir Flood's like, oh, my lord, what happened? You just see every single person outside of the room go like, you are a moron. How are you our most decorated knight? And he goes like, what do you mean? Then why don't you do this to the Lord? And he notices, wait, the fairy, where did she go? One of the people points and goes, she's behind the bed. He's like, thank you, young squire. And takes the bed and just slams it like it's a door on the other side. And sadly, the person that told him where you were is the person that gets slammed by the bed. He's like, ah! And now he's pancaked in the wall. There's a reason why Sir Flood is known as Sir Flood. It's not because he deals with water. It's because every time he comes into a room, he floods it with bad actions. He goes like, crap, and takes you and like pinches your nose ever so slightly and starts pulling you off like a cartoon character stuck to a wall. Ugh. It's like, and like you're still flat. It's like, I know how to fix this. And blast some water into your mouth. And you just watch as you like slowly start to like embiggenate like a cartoon character, getting water shoved into them. He's like stuffed all your orifices, like and no water's getting out. He's like, all right. And all of a sudden you just see him go and suck all the water back out of you. It's a very uncomfortable. It's like you're throwing up, but it's coming from your feet all the way to your mouth.
Never do that again.
He looks at you and says, which thing? Saving your life? Bringing you to the king, or squishing you against the wall? Which of the three?
All of it.
Momo, you're in charge of that from now on, I guess. And you just see that Momo is still passed out. He's like, for some reason, there's now a pillow inside the water tank, inside the fish tank, and Momo is fast asleep, floating with his head up. You can tell that he hasn't slept in like this good in like a month. It's like a waterbed actually of water. It's like he walks over and like just stuffs Momo's face under the water for like 10 seconds. Momo goes, ah! And freaks out. Huh? Momo wanna know why you did that. Because you were asleep on the job, you moron. The king finally wakes up and goes like, The only moron here is you. And pass this back out. You just see as someone comes up to you and goes like, why don't you come with me? We'll go and just set you down in the banquet hall and you can get some food. We'll bring it to you. How about that?
Yeah, that's the best thing I've heard all day.
All right. Guy offers you his shoulder and begins just walking down to the banquet hall, sets you down on the table and goes like, we don't have a fairy's chair at the moment. We don't get a lot of fairy guests. The last fairy guest we had kind of broke the chair over Flood's head, so but
I wonder why.
surprisingly enough, I don't know. I know a lot of stuff here. That's not one of them. Because that happened right before I was here. But I will go and get you some food. And he comes back and he's like, I kind of figured because of, you being a fairy and all, you probably like the vegetables and fruits that we have in the kingdom. So he sets down a unique plate full of different types of fruits that are about the size that a fairy could eat. And he goes, now, I get that it's none of my business, but who are you?
Right now, I'm not sure who I am.
I've said that every day for the last 45 years. And he just turns around and walks away. And you see the king finally start stumbling in like, I'm here. So I love everything that's holy. Someone please help me to my chair. And you just see two more people in the robes, the same ones that helped him up the first time. Just like, it's okay, but it's okay. Let's just get over to your seat, okay? Helping him like he's like an elderly man that's walking without his walker. Like, all right, come on. Let's just get over to your chair. Man clearly has a concussion. He is out of it. You just see right behind him Momo, and Momo's being dragged by his foot by Flood, and he's like, all right, you're going to be standing guard, you're not going to be eating. And Momo looks at him and goes like, Momo don't want to. Momo wants to eat. If Momo not eating, don't bring him in here. He's just going to eat.
I think me and Momo are going to be good friends.
Momo gets picked up and sat directly on his feet and like, think of attention for like military officers in modern day, and he's like, essentially he's toy soldiered, where he's like designed to be in that position. He's like, this is against Momo's will. And all of a sudden the king finally perks up and says, Will! Looks around, goes like, wait, wasn't I just in my chambers? How did... It starts pointing at all of you, like, starts rubbing his nose, like, around like where his nostrils are, starts rubbing his nose, like, checking to see if there's, like, any liquid, so he could blame Flood. Huh. He doesn't feel any liquid, doesn't feel nothing at all. He's like, Flood, for the first time in literally your entire service to this kingdom, you are off the hook this time. and every single person, there's a knight, like 3 of the knights in the room besides like Flood and Momo, look at the king, lift their visors. You can see a shocked expression on all their faces, and they look at Flood, who like goes like does the loser expression with his fingers at the other 3 knights besides Momo. Like how it goes is it's Momo at the far end of the left of the room, Flood in the middle, and then the 3 other knights going over to the right and around the other side. So there's one on the middle, right across from where Momo is, and then there's one more person where Flood is, and then there's 2 more like right across from where Flood is on the opposite side of the wall. And it is a long banquet table. Think about it being about as long as our apartment currently is. About, let's say about 22 meters? That's relatively long, I think. I don't know meters. I don't know millimeters. I'm dumb. And you have all this food in front of you. The king gets a what looks like a pig's leg brought out to him. It's roasted. It's got like what looks like garlic around it and stuff. And he goes, all right. So what I'm getting from context here is you are my summoned. Is that correct?
That's what I'm told.
All right. So, dear Sid Maybe, you have been summoned here to help us defeat a creature. A terrifying creature that we need a hero to defeat.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with this hero, which is you, note we did not know what you would turn into. There have been heroes throughout the millennia in this country. There have been some that have been turned into goblins. You're the first one we've seen so far be turned into a fairy in an actual millennia. The last hero that was ever brought here turned into a elf. And sadly, they are who you must kill. For they have taken up the art of necromancy, and they are disrupting the world as it be. And from what we know, they're working on bringing back a very, very dangerous monster back from the dead. But to do so, he needs souls. We need you to stop him before he can get those souls.
Alrighty then.
Okay, that was the most calm I've ever heard anyone get when I tell them what they need to do. And to make you less calm, I'm gonna let you know this. You're taking Flood with you.
No, you know what? It's alright because this is a dream, and in a little bit I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna laugh about this.
Flood, do you want to try and help her wake up?
No, don't touch me again. I will. I'll figure out where my fairy dust is and I'll throw it at you.
The king looks at you and he goes, "What is fairy dust?
I don't know
Is that
yet.
that new powder substance people have been
Will
snorting
people
recently?"
stop asking me that? When I figure out what it is and where it comes from, I'll let you know. But shh.
The king starts wiping his nose, going, "Yes, I would love to know." You can tell that somehow the king has a very, very bad drug habit. He's been on that fairy dust before.
Maybe I won't tell you.
He looks at you and goes like, "Come on, I won't get addicted to the pixie sticks anymore. I need to know." Flood looks at him and goes like, "My lord, for the first time ever, I think I'll disagree with that. You don't need this one." Momo goes like, "I second." Everybody else in the castle goes like, somehow they all walk and goes like, "We all second." The king goes like, "Fine. It's been 1 week since I got off the pixie sticks. Let me have some hope." Everyone's like, "No, we're not giving you the hope that you might get more drugs. We don't know what the fairy dust or fairy cum or whatever it is. We don't know what that is. We're not going to let you get your hands on it." Huh. We learned that after your father. He was like, "My father was addicted to fairy dust." It's like, no. We only wish that it was something that normal. But no. Everybody just kind of like turns back around, leaves the room, and the king looks at you and goes like, "Fine. Don't tell me about the fairy dust." It winks at you. Then goes and looks at you and says, "Alright, so what we need you to do is track down the man. His name is Halva,
No wonder he turned evil.
but most of us call him Drac. You will know him by a very particular tattoo across his face. It is the Eye of Shamalo. It is a dragon's eye, glowing red.
That don't sound scary at all.
Now, one of the reasons why I'm going to send Flood with you, out of just to give you a little bit of a scare, is Flood has a mission from me to deal with him.
Okay.
He is to bring me his head.
Definitely not touching me then.
Flood looks at you like, and clicks his teeth and goes, "Come on. I'm not that gross." As he has like his hand covered in some white substance that he doesn't understand what it is. So just cause I get covered in things I don't understand does not mean anything. The one hand that was holding you is covered in a white substance. The other one's covered in what looks like a little bit of blood. His boot is covered in what looks like mud. The other boot is clearly covered in poop. His waistcloth somehow has a little bit of a yellow substance on it.
Don't you make water?
Not easily. It's a lot of chanting. Sometimes it just backfires. I don't know how. You believe him, but not entirely. And he looks at you and says, all right. Momo, pick her up. You're coming with us. Momo looks at him and goes, huh? Me? And Flood looks at him and goes like, yes. Yes, you, my dear friend.
Don't worry.
Momo looks at him and goes like, friend? And you just see a tear start to roll down Momo's eye. He goes like, Momo has friend. Momo looks at you.
Guess what?
What?
I'm gonna bring us some snacks, but you gotta be quiet.
Snacks!
No, it's not quiet.
Snacks!
Better.
You just see that after he yelled snacks the first time, Flood somehow got down to his level and stuck his helmet and face near Momo, and then heard Momo go like, snacks! And hears you say, better. He's like, I'm packing provisions, you morons.
Not the kind we want.
Alright. Is there anything in particular you want me to pack you?
It's more of this fruit.
Alright. I will try to pack as much fruit as I can for you. Momo, I hate you. And he just walks away and goes to the pantry. It's like Momo's like, friend.
We're friends, Momo. We'll stick together.
And you just see Momo run up and start hugging you. Momo hugs you with the best hug of your life. You can tell that it's full of love and warmth, and you do not get cut at all by his rusted metal armor. Aww. He's like, you can stain Momo's hair! And he sets you on top of his head, and his hair is like extremely soft. It feels like what you believe Fabio's hair feels like.
Fabio.
It's like super soft and long and luscious, but it's a mohawk, so you get to have like essentially a saddle on him.
Giddy up, Momo, giddy up.
Momo looks and goes like, okay. And he starts like hopping around, and all of a sudden you just see like the floor give out from under him. He's like, Momo! Momo can't fly. You can.
Oh, Momo, you're so heavy.
You are unable to hold Momo, and he falls out of your grip 92 meters away. And then you hear a sickening drop and a crunch at the end, and no sound can be heard.
Hold on, Momo, I'm coming. My fairy dust will help.
You begin to fly down, and as you're flying down, you cannot see anything. Momo has fallen into what you believe to be a cavern underneath the castle. And you finally get down to the bottom where you believe Momo to have fallen, and you just see blood. He is still alive. He is unconscious. He has clearly broken several bones. His skull is fractured. He's broken his arm in at least 3 places, and both of his legs appear to be shattered. And blood is gushing out of the back of his head.
I race to him and turn around and flap my wings really hard because while I was flying, I found out that the fairy dust comes off my wings and it falls onto him.
All right, the dust begins to fall off of your wings and begins to land on Momo, making him slowly, you start to hear sickening crunches as his bones begin to get formed back in shape. It sounds horrendous. And as you are going, you just hear off in the distance and hear a cacophonous, ginormous, thundering slide run towards you. Momo is still unconscious at this point, and you can still hear all of his bones slowly being broken back into place by your fairy dust. And you turn around, and there is a giant Grimbersaw rushing towards you. It is a alpha Grimbersaw. Now, a Grimbersaw is, you remember SpongeBob, the Alaskan something worm that Sandy goes and wrangles its tongue?
Mm-hmm.
Think of that mixed with a graboid from the I don't remember what the name of the movie is. It has Kevin Bacon in it. Tremors.
Yeah.
The graboids from Tremors. It's like a mix between those two types of creatures. And it is just humongous. A alpha Grimbersaw is, think of a T-Rex, right? Think about a T-Rex head. Now imagine 5 T-Rex heads side by side and 3 T-Rex heads stacked on top of each other. And that's how big an alpha Grimbersaw is. And you see that rushing towards you and Momo.
What do we do? Wake up! Wake up!
Momo stays asleep. He is unconscious. His bones are still healing at this point.
Think. I see a piece of wood that is broken off and is sharp, and I really fast dig a little hole in front of me and Momo and stick that shard of wood right in there, standing up.
You try, but you are so small you can't get the wood to go into the hole, and you can't even pick up the wood, so you're over there slowly trying to dig with your hands like a small little cat trying to paw at the ground, trying to dig. Momo wakes up and sees the giant Grimbersaw charging at you two, and he grabs you by your shoulder and you two turn into shadows on the ground.
Oh, I'm so happy you're awake. That was so
The Jimbersaw, like, essentially runs over the two of you as you are shadows, causing no damage. Doesn't even see you anymore. He runs over top of you and just continues charging down the way, assuming that you two ran. Momo lets go of you, and you two form back into your shapes. And Momo looks at you and goes, they need fixed floor.
You want a snack, Momo? Here.
Do you have food?
Yeah. Here.
What do you hand him?
A tiny little grape.
He looks at it and goes,
It's all I got for now.
but apprentices aren't allowed to have this.
Why not?
This is for guests and for royalty.
Well, you're my guest.
Momo begins to tear up a little bit, and he tries a grape for the first time. You see Momo go, thank you, with tears on his eyes, and he picks you up and he like sets you on his head. You can feel in his hair where there was like a bunch of blood in his hair, and he begins to legitimately climb out of the hole. And you two reach the top, and Momo sets his hand on top of the area in which he fell through, and he's like, with like one hand, he's about to pull himself up, and he goes, you just hear Floyd go like, Momo, and accidentally steps on Momo's fingers, and Momo goes, ah! And you two drop 2 feet because Momo's fingers were the only things he had on there.
Do you need more fairy dust, Momo?
Momo looks at you and goes like, no. What's fairy dust? I feel like I missed the conversation. Momo goes like, blows on his fingers, sticks them in his mouth all the way down to his esophagus, pulls them back out, and you see that his hand is now like sticky, and he goes and sticks his hand on the thing. He's like, okay, now even if blood steps on fingers, I should keep still. And you watch as he goes and puts his other hand up there this time now too, and he goes like, all right, and essentially like throws you and him out onto the floor. And he goes like, there you are, Momo. What took you so long? And you just see Momo look at him like just a blank stare, like.
I throw a grape at his head.
It goes like directly through his eye thing, and like somehow doesn't break. He's like, he figures out a way to lift up the helmet just slightly for it just to roll down and catch it with his tongue. And he catches it and he was like, I've never had a grape before. A grape. And he puts the backpack underneath his cape cloth, and what looks like a backpack over his back and underneath his cape cloth, and he goes like, all right, are you two ready?
Sure, why not?
All right, here we go to kill Drac.